Me too.
I'm really excited about this episode.
All right, another fun one. Another really fun, involved topic.
Yeah, they were going to be talking about this one thing for a long time, so if you don't like that, I apologize.
Sorry, but also...
But this is a fun one.
Like, we're gonna do what we want.
Yeah, and also, sorry, not sorry. But this one's a fun one that I hope you enjoy.
Yes.
Please don't tell me if you don't enjoy it.
It's hard to tell because, like, we did pretty much the same thing with you at me.
Yeah.
Back when...
This was happening.
this was happening. And, like, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. You had basically, helped me.
I know.
Get the fundamentals of this.
It was a long night, and then it was lots of miscellaneous things after that.
Yeah.
But there was that one night.
This is always going on.
Yep.
Hi, it's me. I'm editing this episode, and I just felt like I had to make a little clip warning everyone. I didn't warn everyone well enough when we recorded this, so I felt like I had to do it separately. Basically, this whole episode is just me telling the story of one of my creative writing pieces. And, it's rough. It's really, really sad. I'm very proud of this story, and I'm glad it has a sad ending, but I just feel like I have to warn you. Don't expect a happy ending. It gets pretty rough and pretty dark, so I'm sorry. But also, I'm not sorry, because not every story has to have a happy ending, okay? I just felt like I had to hop on and warn you. This is pretty dark. Okay, I hope you enjoy. Bye!
So, we have a story to talk about.
Today, either the last episode or a couple episodes ago, not sure now, was about Mike, and it was all about Mike, and it was all our quirk segment. That was a quirk segment for the whole episode.
Yes.
This time it's going to be the creative writing segment for the whole episode.
Yay!
Because this one's an involved one.
And again, we don't want insanely long episodes trying to smush a whole bunch of stuff in and then rushing through things. So we're going to take our time. We're going to talk about
Depending on how this goes, it might be an hour.
Yes.
Talking about this exact thing. So we don't want that to be tacked onto the end of an actual episode.
We both know everything we're about to say, and we could still just recite all the things we have and, like, have this discussion for hours, like, all
I'm
night.
sure we will.
So we're gonna get right into it.
So this is another page in my journal, in my, like...
Page.
In my, like, creative writing New Year's resolution thing. I don't even know where to start.
No. This one's we can do a good structure with this. So... This
we watched Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
No, you don't need...
I need to talk about my process.
Okay.
We watched Black Mirror Bandersnatch when it first came out years ago.
Is there like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Really awesome. Go check it out.
Yeah, it's great. It's interactive. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with one of the characters, and his name was Colin Redmond. And his whole thing is, like, it's about, like, time travel-y, kind of different dimension stuff. It's weird.
Like, different timelines type thing.
And the main character's,
wild.
like, figuring that out, and it's, like, a whole thing. Even though it doesn't matter. And then the character Colin is, like, he's up on it. He's not, like, it shows him try to, like figure it out, but he figures it out, and he ends up, like...
kind of playing with it.
Traversing dimensions and stuff. And that's, love that. So, that's, like, the cool... This is just, like,
watch it tonight.
Okay. This is just, like, a general statement. The men we like in this room are, like... They're, like, the ones that are just...
In this
too
house,
much.
we like men that...
They're, like...
And cue the list.
Yeah. They're, like, very, like, fully in control of themselves and the things around them.
Yeah.
They're, like, it's full control.
So, like...
There's never, like, they just can do things.
Like, being in the know of the, like... He's aware that different timelines are happening, even though no one else has that type of awareness.
Yeah.
Is really, really cool.
It's just a lot. It's him, like... It's the people that like know things before they're told things, and that's just so cool. And I love that kind of character. And that kind of character is like so much to think about. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But so that after all that, I was like, you know, I don't have a character like myself that's like that. And I was like, I'm gonna do that.
Man, I don't think I do either. I like to create characters that are just messes like me.
That's what you do. So for the first, well, not that he's not a mess.
Well, yeah,
he gets to be a mess. That's the story.
You ruined him. Well, good thing.
So going into this, my thought was, I'm gonna make a character that's that, who's like all-knowing, like a lot to handle. It's rare that I create a character that I'm like attracted to, because I just know too much about all of them. But this one, that was kind of the point. But so his name is Flynn.
Yeah.
I
We're gonna
love the
talk
name Flynn.
about just kind of who he is and what he does, and then we'll get into his
I've got his story. This is my story that we talked about episodes and episodes ago. If a man came up to me today and said, I'm gonna give you a book deal, but you need to like write it right now. You like need to have the story for me right now. This would be the story I'd give him.
Yep.
This is probably the most developed story I have, even though there's a big chunk in the middle missing.
Of course,
But I've got the like beginning and like basically written out. I'm glad it's this one too. But I will say, if you know me, there are two tropes in media that I hate.
Yes. Oh, I meant to say we got to address this.
I hate.
What are the two tropes?
These?
Would you like me to say? Want me to guess?
Go ahead and guess.
Time travel. And romance.
Those are the two things that ruin stories. And this is a time travel romance.
Somehow, your most developed story that you put so much time and effort and thought into is a time travel romance.
It's a romance. It's like, but it's all about time travel.
But the nice part about that is that you are in control and you can do it how you want it to be.
Yep. But I'm sure we'll talk about this when we talk about other things. I don't think we've said it yet. I detest time travel in stories more than I can express. It ruins everything it touches. I've always said, unless a story is created...
We kind of touched upon that when we were talking about Harry Potter and the time travel.
Yeah. Unless a story is created about time travel, like Back to the Future works because it's about time travel. But when people shove time travel into things they don't belong in, it ruins it. So this story's at Marvel. So this story is... I'd say it's about time travel. That's...
Yeah. No, totally. That counts as being about time
travel.
travel.
I'm not breaking my own rules.
No, the thing is time travel.
But time travel's so dumb and so confusing, and I hate it so much, and naturally I have a story about it. It's already been 7 minutes, oh my god.
Do you want to explain how time travel works in yours?
I can't. I don't know.
No, but like just the basis, because there are like different ways of dealing with time travel.
Basically, let me just
talk about it.
So this is so dumb. I hate this. This is a bad choice. Why am I doing this?
No, this is great. This is fun. This is exciting. Woo!
Flynn is, for lack of a better term, he's a time cop. I'm going to come up with a better word for that.
We've been talking about this story for a long time, and so we have lots of little things that we like. We refer to them as time cops, just because we do that. But yeah, you wouldn't call them time cops.
No, I'll come up with a fun word for it when I write this, you know. But for simplicity's sake, and right now, they're all time cops, all right? Leave me alone.
What's a time cop?
So essentially, time cops have the ability to travel. All right, this is gonna get really confusing. I need you to just follow me. I need you to just go with it, all right?
That's fine. Do you say your piece?
These time cops have the ability to travel not only the, like, infinite expanse that is the past and the future, but also they can, like, traverse the infinite expanse of dimensional planes. So they can travel, like, backwards and forwards through time, as well as like side to side. So there are unlimited dimensions, and then there's unlimited time, past, present, and future within each of those infinite dimensions. So it's
So the dimensions are like different, different timelines.
Yes, there are literally infinite of them. So there's a timeline where I tell this story on this podcast. There's a timeline where I tell this story slightly differently, like I use different words to tell. But then there's a timeline where I don't exist. That like it's infinite things. So like the butterfly effect. It's like every possible branch in the butterfly effect has a
separate timeline.
Yes.
And there's dimensions.
Yes.
Yep, those are the different dimensions.
And then
Makes sense.
just for funsies, and with my rules, this means that like every single thing that can exist does exist. So every story
is so fun.
Every story you hear, every story you've been told has a dimension, has a timeline where it's real. So like there's a Harry Potter timeline where like Harry Potter's real and like that actually happened. And but then there's infinite timelines about Harry Potter.
There's a timeline where Bigfoot is president.
Yeah, literally. There's a timeline where Bigfoot is vice president. There's a timeline where Bigfoot is the treasurer. Like,
yeah, literally infinite.
I can't express it. Oh God, I hate this.
But that's not
it's
important.
so confusing. Well, it is important.
It's an overwhelming concept.
It is.
But that's
so much.
how it has
but that's.
to be.
I think you get it.
Yeah.
So the time cop's job is because they have the ability to travel through all of these dimensions and every dimension's complete timeline. Their job is to just
like reflection from
the
that
peace.
light.
Well, like keep the peace in
I
terms
know.
of if anybody
Not peace.
Yeah.
definitely not peace. If anybody
Turn it
starts
off.
to mess with time anywhere, they need
But
to.
I'm coming.
So
out
like
there.
nobody's allowed to touch
I
time
can't see.
other than the time cops. So like with all that said, because every like story you've ever heard has a timeline, every story you haven't heard has a timeline. Like, but because of that, there's like Colin Rittman from Bandersnatch has his own time, like has his own dimension, and so my main character Flynn. Colin is just one example of the dozens and dozens I could give you, but there's a timeline where Colin figures out the time travel thing, the like interdimensional thing, and Flynn has to go set up straight. And so he like Flynn as a concept exists in real life.
Yep.
Like he is real, and he like goes and so he like set Colin straight. So what time cops are supposed to do is if anybody messes with time, they need to go get that person from their timeline because there's like infinite versions of Colin Rittman. He needs to get the one or two that have figured out the time travel and either kill him or take him back to like time prison. Whatever, if he starts resisting.
The time cops have a like base of operations.
It's called
that
the
doesn't
Citadel.
Exist in space or time.
It doesn't exist in any physical plane.
Yeah.
It's like its own little bubble of reality.
Little pocket
Oh,
of the universe.
time does not pass there. Like it's not technically a physical place, but that's where all the time cops come from. That's where they all
And
are.
that's where they bring the prisoners.
Yep. But the difference is there's like millions of time cops or whatever, like however many. This is where it gets confusing. There's like only a handful of time cops, but at the same time there's like millions of them. It's weird.
Doing great.
I hate this. So all of these time cops follow these rules. They'll like you get the assignment that something's happened wrong with time and space, you go deal with it. Either kill the person or bring them back, whatever. The difference is with Flynn, the reason he's a main character, is because he's kind of different. And he's not
like
though.
the other time
He is
cops.
though, because the whole thing there's so much happening.
There's a lot to explain.
Time cops were created by this, pardon my vocab word, entity. Not Mike. Maybe it is Mike. I don't know, man. No,
could
Mike's not
be.
that special. Mike's not the creator of everything that's ever been. No, he agrees with me. He knows I'm right, but he would hate hearing me say that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
He's like, I know that, but you're not supposed to
I know that, but hey.
But there's an entity
there's
that
this
created
entity.
the time cops.
So, like, if you've seen, well, no. If you've read it, there's like a turtle in space.
Yeah.
That's like supposed to represent God, or like what the entity
Or
that
the,
God
like,
is.
The creator.
The
of the
creator of
universe.
all. Yeah. And so in the reality, they see this thing as a turtle. If you've seen Gravity Falls, it's a baby.
It's time, baby.
Time baby. I stole a lot of this from Gravity Falls. Not a lot, but a lot of the time cop inspiration comes from Gravity Falls. Because they do it well.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty does it well too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But so like in the Gravity Falls universe, they see this thing as a baby, and so in every different timeline, they see this entity, the creator of all, as like a different thing.
Not that a lot of people see it.
No. But in the like dimensions that do see it,
Yeah.
if you happen to be like one of the special people that do, like
It
in
appears
part of your
different.
story,
Yeah.
it looks like whatever you need it to look like. So if someone from our current Earth dimension were to see it, it'd be like God. They'd see it as whatever they picture God to be.
Yeah.
So it just like it, and it doesn't have like a physical form. It's just whatever whoever's looking at it thinks it would look like. It looks like. So that thing, that entity, is the creator of these time cops because it realized that in the like universe, in the like millions of universes that it's created, the infinite universes it's created, people are starting to break those walls down, and that's not cool. This entity is chill with everything it's down, but also like don't mess with space and time because that's gonna mess with everyone and everything, and that's gonna suck. So they made these time cops, and these time cops are just created with just the purpose of fixing problems with time and space.
Yep.
So, they're not robots, but they're basically robots. They're created with the they no pleasure. They get they can't feel.
They
don't have
created
want.
to do their job.
Yeah, they don't have any wants or needs, or they don't have to eat. They don't have to drink. They don't have to reproduce. They just exist as they are. And time doesn't pass for them. They don't get older or younger or whatever. They're just what they are. And they have these watches that control where they go in space-time. And the watch kind of can let them choose what they look like. They can look like anything. They can be any gender. They can be any race. They can be any species. I'm talking alien, human, any race, any animal. They appear as what they have to for the mission that they're on. They have no physical form either. Yeah. They get
and they all kind of end up having the ones they like more than others, and that's kind of what they'll use.
The time entity thing is doesn't care what they want to do because it's just letting them exist as they should. And so they're you can so they can be whatever. So but a lot of times the time cops settle on the one look that they are generally. But sometimes they don't. Some of them change all the time, and none of them have any set names, none of them have any set genders. It's just you just do the thing. And you can pick out a name if you want. And so Flynn, back to Flynn, he is Flynn. And he's settled on whenever he's just relaxing, he's a boy, he's human. If you want a description, I've got him tan, pretty tan. He's got brown eyes, long brown hair. He's pretty he's not muscular, but he's he's toned. He's tall. He anyway, he's very handsome. Yeah. Traditionally, our Earth dimension version of handsome. Mm-hmm. That's what he looks like. He's cool.
What makes him special?
And so yeah, back to that. He so by definition, by creation, none of them have any wants or needs, and so they all just kind of do their job. But the time entity thing knew that their creations would, see
Be
people.
curious.
They'd be curious, and that's okay. They'd be curious eventually because they're going to all these different timelines and dimensions and seeing people going out and having fun. And these time cops don't know what that feels like, so they're gonna try. And even though technically they're not going to feel any pleasure from any of these things that they're doing, like physically, emotionally, like they're gonna get no pleasure from any of this. But they pretend to because they know they're supposed to feel that way because they've seen so many different versions of reality where people enjoy these things. So they're like, I'm supposed to enjoy this. So they think they do, but they don't. They even don't really think they do. But Flynn is technically not special because none of them are special. That's the whole thing. But he just goes above and beyond with his the things he thinks he should like. So he goes and hangs out in different dimensions at different times, even though he doesn't have a job there. You're not technically supposed to do that, but the entity doesn't really care. Yeah. So the thing that's special about him, though, that none of the other time cops do, that he's just found to be the most fun, or he thinks it's fun, is whereas every other time cop goes and kills or captures their targets, Flynn likes to sit down with them and talk. And so, using Colin from Bandersnatch as an example, he finds Colin, pulls him into some, pocket in space-time where nothing happens, and he explains the situation to him. He's like, listen, I'm a time cop. There are infinite dimensions, infinite timelines, infinite, whatever.
And Colin goes, I know.
And Colin goes,
it.
I knew it. And so Flynn says, listen, if you follow these rules, I'm going to let you live. I'm going to let you keep living in your dimension, but you gotta listen to me. You gotta, follow the rules I set for you. Because Flynn really appreciates, individuality. He wants to be an individual so bad, and he, can't. So he really appreciates when people are different. And so whenever anyone figures out time travel or whatever, he likes sitting down with them and being like, you're really cool. I really like you. I don't want to kill you.
Yeah.
If you listen to me, I won't have to kill you. And almost all the time, everyone's like, yes, of course, I will. That's awesome. They're glad to feel special. And he just keeps an eye on every time he's ever done that. He keeps an eye on that version of that person. And occasionally, they don't listen, and they keep breaking the rules, in which case he has to go kill them or put them in jail or whatever. But most of the time, they do listen. Colin's just one example I have. I have a million other examples.
From actual
from popular
pop culture
media in our timeline.
It's very fun.
I'll go through and I'll read them.
Just
put a finger down every time you know what fandom it's from.
Yep.
These are all ones that Flynn has been assigned to, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip that one because that's canon. Colin Rittman, Wilford Warfstache, Sam and Dean Winchester, Stephen Strange, Cosmic Owl, Prismo, Dipper and Mabel Pines, Rick Sanchez, Bill Cipher. I'm not reading that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sans. Any other, Tony Stark.
Yeah, because he figures out.
Yeah, all of the... And please leave in the comments any other examples you've got. Just
so much fun.
Anyone from anything that figures out time travel or dimensional travel or anything. There's a Phineas and Ferb about it. So them.
No, Phineas and Ferb.
The one major one I skipped was Doc, Emmett Brown, and Marty McFly, but we'll go back to that.
Eventually.
They're kind of a big plot in this story. Well, Emmett Brown is. But we'll get to that. It's all these people. Oh, it's already been 23 minutes.
Okay.
So
that's kind of how things run, and how Flynn has been living for his infinite life.
Yeah, they're never babies. They just pop into existence and do the thing, and so they don't know how long because time isn't real.
Yeah,
they're not a certain age. They just exist. The golden rule of his people is that, generally speaking, the time cops are not to be seen or heard when they're on duty. Time cops like Flynn are these beings who only exist within the realm of the Citadel, the Time Cop HQ or whatever. This basically means that where every living thing exists infinite times among infinite dimensions and timelines, the species that is the time cops only exist once within the realm of the Citadel. So, like, there's only one Flynn.
Yep.
He doesn't have infinite timelines where he exists. He just exists in the one. And it's because that they don't technically exist within any other space or time that they're able to slip between dimensions so easily. The thing that they talk about in Bandersnatch is that Colin needs to die in one dimension for him to be able to go to for like a different version of him to go to the dimension. Because two people, the same person cannot exist within the same time. So because the time cops only exist in the Citadel, they don't have other versions of themselves. That's why they can go to different dimensions so much easier.
Okay, good clarification.
Thank you. This isn't the spot to say this, but because they're so like untouchable or whatever, only time cops can kill other time cops. So like if in the dimension where Colin attacks Flynn, he like tries to talk to him and it goes horribly and Colin freaks out and tries to kill Flynn. He can't. He like cannot physically kill Flynn, but Flynn can kill him. So time cops are like technically immortal. They don't like age and they like can't die unless they're killed by another time cop. All right, so that's all just background. I'm definitely missing a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't matter. Skipping to the actual story, 30 minutes in. All of this is fun and games for Flynn. All of this existing and being a cop and doing all this stuff. All of it's fun and games. But now, in air quotes because time isn't a construct, but now Flynn does things for a reason. And that reason is Winona Stanton. Ooh. Ooh.
Who's that?
I hate this. I'm just gonna read. I have my notes. I'm just gonna read the notes.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
I'll have to. One of Flynn's missions was a heavier one, but it was easy enough that he was doing it alone. He didn't need backup or anything. It was a big deal because the criminal that he was after had a dangerous item, had like a object that was dangerous to the Citadel's existence. Aries Brown is her name, the person he's going after. She is the great granddaughter of Doc Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. That's important. I have Aries is a different sticky note in the cup, so I'm not going to talk about Aries much, but she's got a whole thing. Yeah. I'll talk about her when we pull her someday.
Just in terms of the story.
She has this device, which when activated would prevent... This is when it gets really confusing. If it wasn't confusing yet. This device will prevent the manipulation of an event in the space-time continuum after we activate it in that time. So if she presses a button on her thing, time, until she presses it again, so she'll like press it, wait 5 minutes, press it again, those 5 minutes in time, in every timeline that she did that in, cannot be manipulated again.
Yep.
So like, even if Flynn went there, he can't do anything to change what has happened. Because that's his whole thing, is like he can go in the quote-unquote past of one of the dimensions and then like change something, like unsink the Titanic, and then that dimension, the Titanic has no longer sunk.
Yep.
But so with her...
They're not supposed to do things like that.
We're not, no, and they never do.
But
nobody does that.
In theory, that's how it would work.
Yeah.
That's the possibility.
But so when Ares presses that button and turns on this device, forever, however long it's on, that time cannot be changed, which is a big, scary uh-oh for the people in the Citadel. And this has never happened before. Never happened. Time is a construct. But, you know, like, they've never had to deal with this. Because everything is technically, like, happening all at the same time.
I know. Time is weird. You don't stress about trying to explain it. It's weird. It's okay.
But so that's this device that Flynn's really nervous about. But, like, big, scary things like that happen a lot. So he went alone, and it was fine. This device would obviously cause a lot of issues for the Citadel if it was activated wrongly. So they sent Flynn after her. Our story begins, question mark, with after all this setup. I'd have to set it all up first. Flynn is chasing Ares through dimension after dimension, like trying to catch her and trying to catch the stuff. Until finally he gets her as she crossed into like a Earth dimension, England. So,
Sure.
yeah, we're in England. We're on Earth. It's a certain timeline. To be precise, it's the early 16th century or the late 15th century. I haven't decided. It's called...
It's important.
It's Stuart England. That's like the name of the period.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
It's Stuart England. It's like, yeah, you get it. He finally gets her down. He gets Ares. He finally gets her down on her knees, and this wasn't exactly a person that he was gonna sit down and talk with.
Yeah,
She was a scary one. So he's like putting the cuffs on her, like telling her like, I got you. And this is so dumb. When suddenly this like young girl turns a corner. I hate this.
Just get it out.
This young girl like turns the corner and catches them completely red-handed. Like they're not supposed to be seen, and he's like putting the time dimension cuffs on this girl with this crazy techie device in like the 15th century.
Yep. Oh,
and
God.
this girl stops, and she's like, oh, like Flynn is still in his time cop getup, and Ares is in like late 21st century style, which doesn't exactly fit the England. Like Stuart England.
Do you know what his time cop like get up?
It's I picture it as like really like black spandexy, like though it's like a bodysuit, like all black, and then they have like the watch which like glows blue, I guess, and then like there are like these little things on it, but just all black. Like
what a nerd.
Yeah, they're nerds. It's aerodynamic. Because, like, he could have clicked his watch and turned into, like, someone who looked like they fit the style. But he was in a rush.
Yep.
Normally Flynn would just have to kill the poor girl for catching them. Like, that's just what you do.
God.
After all, she exists in infinite realities, so if he had to execute one for the greater good, that's just his duty as a time cop. However... This girl's no older than 20, and she's confused and terrified beyond words by the thing that's happening in front of her. She only knows farm.
She only knows farm.
And normally this, like, terrified little girl wouldn't, like, faze Flynn. Like, this happens a lot, it's fine. But he just...
For some reason.
I'm gonna throw up. Oh my god, I hate this. He, like, can't explain it. The second he sees her, it's like someone flips a switch in his brain. And he can't take his eyes off her, and he's frozen, and he's, like, all shook. And so, naturally, while he's so preoccupied with being all shook, Ares slips the cuffs and disappears through time. And she grabs her device, and she disappears, and Flynn barely even notices that she's gone. He's just really shook. He's so confused and scared. And the real issue that he's like wicked shook about is that he has no idea why. Like, this has never happened. Like, he doesn't have emotions or feelings. He doesn't understand what's happening. Like, it's not like she's this like crazy creature, like whatever. It's not like she's whatever. She's like just plain looking, simple human girl. And like in all the time and dimensions that Flynn has ever been to, this woman has been the life form that has fascinated him the most. Like, no competition. I hate this. As time cops feel no like inherent desire, this makes no sense. Something that's happening to him, and he's really confused because he's always had to force emotions, and he's not forcing this, it's just happening. He doesn't have to pretend he's like receiving pleasure as he does with everything else. Like, he just woke up something like instinctual inside of him that he didn't even know he had. I'm just gonna read exactly what I wrote here. What some life forms tend to refer to as love has never been any sort of want for any of the time cops. Some of them have friends, but none of these are without some kind of benefit, like whether it's like romantic benefit or whatever. Like, they're just like anyone that they talk to has always benefited them because that makes sense.
Yep.
But somehow this girl has caused some like weird carnal thing to awaken inside of Flynn.
So what does he do about it?
Now, I'm going to read this as well, straight from the book. Now, now, being the asshole he is, Flynn isn't a fan of how this first meeting went with this woman. He embarrassed himself not only by blatantly gawking at her, but also she saw him lose, like a criminal.
Yep.
Which was the most humiliating part of it all. So he decides to fix it. He rewound to minutes before she was supposed to catch him. To like
Fixes himself
to
up,
a couple
brushes
minutes.
his
Well,
hair.
to a couple minutes before that all happened. And he's like, so now he knows what's happening, and he like knows she's gonna turn that corner when she does and everything. So he's like watching from around that corner and like watching her fill a bucket from a well, and he's just like staring at her, and he's all shook, and he's like, why do I feel this way? He quickly decides to have some fun with this new try, and he taps his watch, and his clothes change to become like appropriate for the time period. And he steps into her path as she turns that corner, because he knows exactly where she's going to walk. And she drops the bucket, and water goes everywhere. And she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. She's apologizing like crazy. And Flynn's like, oh, that was crazy.
Oh, what are the odds?
But he's a little, so he finds himself, like, stuttering around her, which is extremely unlike him. He's, like, full control all the time.
Yep.
And he has no idea what's happening. She invites him back to her house so that she can, like, get him dry clothes. And,
her farmhouse.
yes, she lives on a farm.
She only knows
She
farm.
only knows farm. And so this is where the, like, awkward jump is, because their relationship grows. Period.
Sure.
So, like,
that's fine. You don't need details.
She
can imagine.
I swear I talk about her family, but maybe not. She's got this, like, massive family, like a mom and a dad and a ton of siblings, and they live on this farm because, you know, back in the day you had to have a bunch of kids so that they could work on the farm.
Yeah. You didn't want to pay workers, so you had
children. Yeah, exactly. So this is, like, way back then. And, again, I have no reference for any of this, so if any of this is, like, historically inaccurate, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that existed.
We did a lot of research about...
Go on, say it.
About wells.
Question for the audience.
When do you forget about everything we've said before this, when do you think wells were invented?
Which is quickly followed up by, if you're an intelligent person, well, wells weren't, like, invented. Wells have always existed. The concept of wells have always existed.
I know!
Like, digging big holes in the ground for water.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we found out.
Okay.
Wells have always existed. Anyway.
It's fine.
Oh. So, big time jump. Like, there's not a time jump. Time is a construct. But
Shut up.
but like in my storytelling I have nothing. But basically a few months go by in Winona's time.
Yeah.
And because time doesn't pass for Flynn, like in this timeline. He can disappear for years and years and years or like whatever.
And pop right
then
back
pop right
into
back to the
where
second
he
that he
was.
left. So like that's fine. But so months pass for Winona. And Flynn's like kind of been going back. Well, hang on. For a few months, the two talk and, like, fall in love. Whatever. But Flynn is being constantly, like, called to action because he has a job. That's why he exists. But he continues to, like, occasionally he'll, like, ignore the calls. And it's like, he's never done that. No time cop has ever done that. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Because for a while, for the first, like, month, he goes and does the jobs when he has to and then comes right back. But he starts, like, really not liking when he's not around her. So he's, like, ignoring more and more calls. It's, like, not uncommon for Flynn to, like, disappear for a long time. As much as time exists. But when Flynn can stay with Winona is when he's happier. So he learns... Over these few months, he learns that she's newly 18. She, like, just turned 18. And she's betrothed to a boy from the town. Oh, gasp. She's supposed to marry this kid, and they're gonna, like, have a bunch of kids really quickly because she's getting on the older side. She's 18. She just turned 18. But, you know.
Gotta start pumping out those kids
You do.
for the farm.
That's, like, her whole issue, is that she was, like, her older sisters are all married off to men when, like, they were 13 or 14.
Oh.
That's what it was like back then.
Oh.
But she is 18. I might make her a little younger. No, because he doesn't have an age. He doesn't.
No, I know.
I make her a little younger because that's crazy. 18's really old. But, she's supposed to get married and have kids. But she's, like, always kind of talked about how, to Flynn, how she doesn't want to marry this kid. She doesn't like this kid. And even though, and she reminds him of himself because she's like, I know I'm not supposed to think this way because nobody thinks this way. And, like, you just do what you're told, but I really don't like him. I know I'm supposed to, like, no one cares if I don't like him or not, but I don't, and I don't want to marry him. She says she doesn't want to marry her betrothed, she wants to marry Flynn. And then it's like, his heart jumps into his throat when she says that. And he has these, like, bizarre, nervous butterflies around her that he's never felt before, but they never go away, no matter how long he knows her. It's always like, several days later, in Winona's time, they found her betrothed mysteriously murdered.
Oh. No.
What?
No. No.
Weird.
No.
What happened?
Flynn, no. Wait, really?
Yeah, he kills this kid. Which is, like, really bad.
Yeah.
Time cops they only kill people who need to be killed. And this is the first, like, innocent he's ever killed. He doesn't even kill the people he's supposed to kill. And this is, but, like, it really doesn't faze him.
I was gonna say, how does he feel?
And he's really like, no, I'm doing this because I want to be with her.
And he wouldn't, even though he is starting to have these weird new, like, positive, like, lovey feelings.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to have feelings, and so
No.
the feeling of, like, remorse or guilt or
Yeah.
bad feelings for killing someone and taking
Yeah.
their life, he wouldn't, that wouldn't, yeah.
He knows he, like, should be upset that he did that. Like,
But he's
but
like,
he's just not. He's like, no, I want to be with her. I did what I want.
Yep, yeah. He would
and
think that way.
Flynn tells her that he can give her a happy life, and he promises that he's never gonna leave her.
Oh.
And then he gets another call at work.
Well, yeah, Flynn.
And he's like, I have a job. I wasn't created. He's like, I have a job. I was created for a reason, and that reason isn't to love someone. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I should. That's not what I should be doing. No, that's the end of my, like, cohesive notes, and then this is all, like, nonsense notes.
The poor thing.
It's really sad, and he's just confused and sad and scared. So he says all that to her, and then he's like, well, hang on, I've, like, gotta go. Then he tells her, like, I have this very, like, dangerous, mysterious job that he's not allowed to tell her about. But she loves him, and she trusts him, and with a promise to be back, he gives her a kiss, and he's gone. And then this is kind of how they live. She lives her days as a single woman, much to the, like, dismay of her family. He does his, like, time cop business and goes to her every second that he can spare, every second time the contract. He doesn't tell anyone about their relationship, as, like, they'll have to kill her, because she can't know any of this. She can't even know he exists.
Yeah.
And, like, he hasn't told her anything compromising about his job, but, like, the fact that she even knows he exists is bad. He will, like, appear in her room in the middle of the night and, like, just kind of, like, lay in bed with her, and she knows that it's him, and she'll, like, be like, oh, he's back from, like, whatever job he's got. And she's, like, obviously worried about him and his well-being in this crazy job, but she, like, trusts him, and this, whatever. He knows that there are infinite timelines and infinite dimensions, and there are infinite versions of this Winona. But he always goes to the same one.
Yeah.
He always goes to the same, like, very specific, like, one girl. And he never, ever, like, tampers with anything that goes on in that dimension other than the one kid he killed, but that's fine. Never happened, what? As he works, like, he's working on this, like, he's being with Winona, and then on the side he's working, and then his, like, big underlying job, while he's doing all these other side jobs, is Aries Brown. Remember her?
Remember
she disappeared, and it was really bad, and she's got a
peaced out.
device we can't lose. Remember that?
So he's supposed to still be working on that.
So he's supposed to still be doing that.
He should really be giving all of his attention to that. But he's not.
Things happen. Time passes. And he finds her. He ends up finding Ares, one way or another. And they get into like a fight. They're like, whatever, chaotic fight. And he destroys the device.
Yay.
He like gets the thing and he breaks it and it's gone.
Woo.
And then
Happy
he lets her go, like he always does, because he's like, the only thing that made you special was this thing and it's gone, so you're not special anymore. Goodbye. And so he lets her live because he just wants to get back to Winona and he like can't even focus on what he's doing anymore. But he lets her go as he usually does. As she would, Ares becomes, her whole existence is trying to get back at Flynn because he destroyed this device. She's got all her reasons. I'll talk about her someday.
That.
She's got good, valid reasons for the way she feels. Yeah. But so, he moves on and he goes back to Winona like always. I call her Winnie.
Yeah.
I have Winnie written, so I'm gonna call her Winnie. So now, flash forward. It's been years. Winona is now 26, and her parents have put their foot down, and they're like, "You have to bear a child. We need more workers on this farm."
Is she still living with her family?
Yeah, she is.
I guess she wouldn't be able to own anything on
No, not as a woman.
Yeah,
No.
so no.
But so she needs to like bear children while she still physically can, or they will disown her. And like she doesn't want to do any of this, but she loves her family, and so she's like, well, I have to.
And if she gets disowned, she will die on the streets.
Yes, she will. And as much as Flynn would want to take her back to the Citadel, she cannot exist in the Citadel. So he has to try to fix this. So Winona tells Flynn this, and she's like, I have to do this. And she's asked him about marriage and children before, but he always tells her that he can't because of how like dangerous his life is. But in reality, he doesn't know what would happen if he got her pregnant, or if he even can do that.
Oh, I thought that was he just can't.
No, he just doesn't know if he can. No one's ever tried.
No one would have ever asked that question.
No.
Yeah.
No one's had like a want to do that. Like, can he do that? He doesn't know. And he never wanted to make her promises he couldn't keep. So he's always just been like, oh, I don't want to do any of that. But when presented with this ultimatum where she's like, I have to have a kid or I like can't be with you anymore, he says okay. And they have this big fancy wedding ceremony for her parents because they want that. And Flynn and Winona become man and wife.
How nice.
And he gives her, I don't know if I'm gonna stick with this, but he like, it's the first like real big oopsie he does. Their wedding rings, he like makes himself, and they're like special. They're like his watch, and they're like these special material that can like traverse time and space. And he gives her one, and it's just, he doesn't say anything to her. It just looks like metal. And but in the back of his head, he's like, this is just like a failsafe for her in case she ever gets hurt, or just, I don't know. It's just for her. Their lifestyle remains the same though as it always was, and Flynn has to like dip out every once in a while for work, and Winona knows that. And then, like, months and months go by, and...
Does Flynn have a way of getting money?
No, I imagine there's, like, an ATM system in the Citadel where you, like, get any amount of money, of any currency, any whatever you need.
Yeah.
But
okay,
I imagine they keep, like, a record of that, so, and he doesn't want to... They'd be like, you took some Earth dimension... What was the... currency in the 1500s.
Oh,
was there currency, or did you just, were you like, I'll have your cow, here is butter? I'll give
there was a lot
you can marry my daughter, but I need 3 goats for it.
I don't know if that one makes sense. I don't know if there was a lot of cow butter exchanges.
That'd be a lot of butter for a whole cow.
For a whole cow. Here's the butter. But sure, yeah, I have
You
no
get
idea.
what I'm saying.
No idea.
But so, like, months and months go by, and they're like, she's been trying to get pregnant, and they've been trying to do the thing, and it's just no results. And so, like, Winnie's heartbroken. She thinks, like, she's too old to have a kid now, and so she thinks it's all her fault. But Flynn knows better, and he knows it's his fault.
Yeah.
So next time he returns to the Citadel, he asks around about, like, like really
casually,
casually
just
about like time cop pregnancy.
Hey, has anyone ever knocked someone up?
Yeah, literally, or been knocked up. Like
Or been knocked up? Yeah.
And others tell him that it's like impossible, and he's like an idiot for even thinking about that. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I know. I've been getting around, and I'm worried."
Just wanted to double check.
But no. So they're telling him that he's stupid for even like asking that question. It's so ridiculous. He sulks back to Winona. And like when he finally ends up with her, the doctor just left the house telling her that she's not pregnant. And like again, for the dozenth time, she like hugs him and cries, like talking about how sorry she is because she's so sure it's her fault.
What? There are women that are just they just can't.
Yeah, there are a lot of women that just can't have kids.
What did they do back in the day?
Kill them? They probably killed these
Did
women.
they just throw them in the ocean?
Sure.
Off bridges into the ocean.
Yeah, probably.
So he gets back and she is.
He knows she's pregnant. And she's like hugging him and she's so sorry and she thinks it's her fault because she still thinks that Flynn is like just a guy in her town.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't know that he's special. So it's like gotta be her fault. He knows that it's his fault and he knows that she can't live a fulfilling life if he's in it. This is when the story gets really sad, and then it gets so much worse.
From this point forward, we're gonna be real sad.
He decides to go back to when she came to him to live with her parents. He decides to like, quote unquote, rewind, to back when she came to him with the ultimatum of, I have to have a child or I can't be with you. And so he goes back to then. And instead of giving her hope and telling her, okay, he tells her that he can't. So instead of being like, I'm going to try to do this, let's get married, it's like right before their wedding, and he tells her that he can't because of his job. Which was what he should have said to begin with, because he knew that was true, and he was almost 100% sure he couldn't get her pregnant. But he just wanted to be with her. So, he tells her he can't because of his job. It's too dangerous, and he doesn't want her to get wrapped up in it. And he notices that even though he went back to before the wedding, she still has the wedding ring on her finger. Because it's the, like, can traverse time and shit. And so he kisses her and, like, nonchalantly slips it off her finger and puts it in his pocket. And she, like, she understands that, like, this is a thing. Because she knew being with him was going to be like this. And there was the chance of this not being able to happen ever. So she gets it. And she goes to her parents and tells them to find her a new suitor. As she's, like, crying. Now, he would have gone... What Flynn should have done is gone back and completely erased himself from her memory. Like, gone back before they even met and never met her. But he's selfish. And even though he knows that she would live a much happier life if she didn't know him, because she wouldn't, like, long for a life with him or whatever, he loves her too much to let her forget him. He's an asshole like that.
Yeah.
So she marries this new guy, and they start, like, popping out kids right away. Which, Flynn is, like, always watching her. Sometimes they, like, meet. Sometimes he still, like, meets with her. Not for, like... Yep. Because she thinks he's just some guy in her village. So, like, she would still see him. It's just, they only meet to, like, talk and to be reminded of the love they once had. Winnie always cries whenever they're together. She loves her kids and she likes her husband. But she really does. She loves the life she has, but she could never forget about her first love, the mystery boy with the mystery job. She has no memory of the fact that they ever even tried to have a life together. She doesn't know that. She only knows of Flynn's reluctant rejection of the life with her. Flynn could easily go to another timeline or rewind to when it was, like, happy, just the two of them, when she was, like, in her early 20s and she wasn't worried about being an adult. But he wanted his Winnie to live her life as she should have, and he had to let her have something. He had to let her have something, and a life was a good choice. He had to let her have that. 5 years go by of Winnie's time with this life. She has, like, numerous children. Some of them don't make it because of disease or whatever, you know. But she's had, like, a ton of kids. Her and Flynn still meet in private. It's been 5 years. They still meet in private. She isn't cheating on her husband when she meets with him. But I guess in the, like, by definition sense, she is having a love affair.
Sure.
And technically she was with Flynn, so technically, whatever. And, like, Flynn, like, he's, like, watching her even when she doesn't know he's there, which is a little creepy, but it's fine. But, like, he's back to working regularly, and he doesn't mind that distraction. Before, Winnie was his distraction from work, but now work is his distraction from Winnie.
It hurts.
It gets so much worse. I'm so sorry.
I know.
Yeah, you know. He watches Winnie and the kids. He loves her kids. Even though they're not, like, with him, they're a part of her, and he really likes her children. He's really sweet. But one day he's sitting there, like, getting settled to, like, sit and watch them, and, oh, okay, I'm just gonna read this sentence, alright? One day he returns, he's getting settled into his usual, like, sitting spot to watch Winnie and the kids, and he watches as Aries Brown smirks, lifts a beaten Winnie off the ground by her hair, and slits her throat with the kitchen knife.
God, you just jump right into it. You just go. Oh, God.
And Aries is doing a good job of the, like, terms and conditions that Flynn gave her, because she killed her with a kitchen knife, and that's, like, a weapon of the time. She didn't come here with a gun. Like, she found that knife in this time to kill her. But that's not the point. Aries immediately drops the body and teleports to a different dimension. Flynn stares at her bleeding body quickly before teleporting and chasing after Aries. He doesn't even, like, bother going to her, because he just needs to get Aries first. And he knows she'll be fine, because he can, like, go back and it'll be okay, but he needs to get Aries first, so that never happened. So he just stares at her real quick and then goes. He knows he'll be able to rewind. He could lose Aries really quickly if he lets her, like, get away and go through too many dimensions, so he's gotta go. Even though time isn't real. He's like, he cannot let her get away from this unscathed. That she is not gonna get away with this. So he, like, chases her down and they fight. Things happen. He captures her. And he handcuffs her, and he, like, she goes to prison. The second he sends her off to prison, he races back to Winnie because he can't stand the thought of her, like, lying there bleeding out without him any longer because of him. And he gets there and he kneels by her body, and it's, like, still warm, but, like, she's dead. And he, like, sighs and he goes, oh, and he's all traumatized because he, like, really doesn't like seeing this, but he's like, she's fine. And he, like, clicks his watch to go back in time, and it doesn't work. And he tries again and again, but, like, nothing's happening.
Why do you do these things?
And he, like, tries hitting his thing again and again to go back in time, and it's just not working. And he's like, what's going on? And then he sees it. It's, like, this big, clunky, mechanical, whirring, sparking box in the corner. And, his eyes blow wide and his heart's in his ears as he runs to it and shatters it. He knew what it was right away. It was Ares' device to halt the manipulation of time. He had destroyed it way back, but he didn't understand that she could make a new one. I have a lot of stuff about Ares that I'll get into eventually. Like, he immediately starts to cry. So this is, like... So he didn't know she could make a new one, because he destroyed the one from, like, back when he defeated Ares the first time. He, like, broke that box. And so he just assumed that she couldn't make a new one, because she didn't make it. That's the whole thing. She didn't make that box.
Yeah.
It's, like, passed down for generations. Doesn't matter. I'll talk about Ares someday.
Explain what the box does again.
The box halts the manipulation of time. So from the second it's turned on to the second it's turned off, that chunk of time can never be changed again. And it was on when she killed Winona. So he crushes the thing. He, like, destroys the box, and he tries to rewind again, but it would only rewind back to the second that he broke the box. He, like, goes to Winona, and he, like, picks up her body, and he's, like, hugging her, and he's crying, and he cries himself dry before looking up with blotchy cheeks and revenge in his eyes. He teleports to the Citadel right away, marching through the gates and the prison checkpoint like it's nothing. He, like, kind of does whatever he wants all the time on the Citadel, but they're, like, not supposed to do this. And so, the prison is, like, off limits without reason to go in, because it's just, like, you don't do that. And so, but obviously he didn't have a reason to go in. So the, like, wardens, the, like, time cops, prison wardens, whatever, they'd start, like, yelling at him. They're like, what are you doing? And he kills them without a second glance. And one after another, he's just taking down these other time cops, like, not even thinking as he's doing it. And, like, nobody can stop him. He's, like, really good at what he does, and he's in, like, this fiery rage. And
he's in a rage.
Nobody can get in his way. If he was counting, he would have lost count of how many he kills, but he's not counting. So Flynn's able to massacre the prison workers, like, without interruption. Nobody can get to him. He killed and killed until he got to the doors of Ares' prison cell. He bursts into it, and he doesn't wait for her to talk. He doesn't ask her questions. He just obliterates her from existence. So, like, he doesn't kill her. He used all of his, like, magic time cop power to completely, like, delete her life form, delete her existence from every dimension she's ever existed in. So, like, the whole concept of Ares Brown is just gone. No, like, she's gone. Every time she's ever existed doesn't happen anymore. And so he looks at her now empty and smoking chair, and he just turns and walks away, not, like, looking back. It's, you know how it's impossible to disapparate from inside of Hogwarts?
Yes.
You can't teleport from inside the Citadel.
How do they do that, then?
Inside the prison, I mean. Not the Citadel.
Oh,
They can't teleport from inside the, like, time
Okay.
prison. So he needs to, like, walk back through the massacre he just caused. I'm on the last page, I swear.
I feel like we can't make things happy with just one page left.
You're right. Weird. So Flynn, like, fights his way out as he fought his way in. And so he's, like, going through the bodies that he killed, and he's killing more, and he just, like, doesn't even care. He doesn't even notice that he's doing it.
Just not...
By the time he gets to the exit, he's bruised and bloodied, and almost all his gear is smashed to bits, and the mountain of bodies behind him frames the scene nicely. His watch sparks as he clicks to travel back to his Winona, but it gets him there, even though it's, like, kind of broken. He just wants to hold her. He's, like, he doesn't care that she's dead. He just needs to be with her. But when he gets there, he didn't like, his watch was glitching out, and he's, like, not really thinking, and so he didn't realize what he did. But he gets there, like, a little later than when he planned to be there. And Winona's husband and children were just returning from burying Winnie's body when he gets there. He stares blankly as they all enter the house. He looked up to the gravestone where they came from, and he sighs as he unclips his watch, crushes it beneath his shoe, you know. And it sparks and poofs, and it's, like, broken, and he's now stuck there. There's no way for him to leave. Not that he was planning on going anywhere anytime soon. He, like, trudges up the hill to the little cemetery. It's not a cemetery. I see it as, like, there's, like, this little hill, and there's one tree, and then her gravestone is under the tree.
Okay.
So he, like, goes up the hill, and he sits himself down at the base of the Stanton headstone, and he takes her, like, wedding ring out of his pocket, and he, like, puts it on the stone before, like, fiddling with his own, which he had never taken off. He, like, always wore that. After the day he put it on, he's never taken it off. So he's like, hers is on her stone, and he's, like, messing with his. And he never speaks a word again. The
Then
Citadel...
he sits at that gravestone and he doesn't move ever again.
He doesn't. The Citadel's no doubt looking, like, all over for him. After all, he committed some of the worst time crimes that the Citadel's ever even heard of.
He would never... They'll never find him.
But they won't find him here. Nobody knew about Winona. Yeah. He never told anybody about her. And he knew that they would assume he was on the run, like, going to different dimensions, but he hadn't moved since the day he sat down. Kids...
Yeah.
Kids talk about
story.
Kids talk about the ghost that sits at the old graveyard, and like some come to see him but run scared when they see him.
And it's just Flynn going.
He's still covered in his like time brethren. He's still covered in their blood, and he just like stares at the Stanton grave as if it were the only thing that exists, and it is to him. He's not sure, but he thinks that like Colin or like some of his other friends
Not doing good.
It's sad.
It's so sad. It's so emotional and sad. Oh, man. God.
He's not sure, but he thinks that like Colin Rittman or like some of the other
His
like
squad.
none of his like time cop friends,
Yeah.
but like the friends that he had made along the way, like the people that he'd like let live. He's pretty sure a few of them have like come by and like tried to talk to him at times. They've like found him, but he's not sure.
He's just not there.
Because he doesn't. He only sees the Stanton gravestone, and he sits there, unmoving, touching the ground and his ring, and staring at the stone for the rest of time, even though time doesn't really exist. The end.
Oh. We need to go watch a happy movie now.
Yeah,
God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I talked for an hour and 20 minutes and that was the result. Thank you.
Man.
I promise their relationship will be more developed if I write it.
You'll feel it more, even though you feel it anyway. It's really, but like even not knowing their relationship so much in Winona a lot, you really, even with just all that you have right now, you feel it through Flynn.
He's sad.
Oh God. Yeah. Really like.
Thank you.
Very, very well done story.
I did it in one night.
God. That's like, ooh. It's all like, it's just, it has, you can't, when it's well written, you can't explain why it is, but it's just all the little pieces fit so nicely together.
Yeah, thank you.
And you have those moments of like, oh.
And you know what's gonna happen. And like when Ares kills Winona, like, if I were reading this, you'd have to be like, she wouldn't do that because she knows that's not gonna do anything.
You
she
would
has
have
to
a bad
have,
feeling.
like,
You'd
an
be like,
ulterior...
oh no, oh boy. And like you would feel it as he goes back and he's getting ready to do his watch and goes to do it. You would just be feeling that like, oh please,
please work.
And it doesn't.
And it doesn't.
Ooh. Yeah, that's an intense one.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh boy. But ooh.
And then the next day for me.
Yeah.
The next page in my book is about Ares. It's like 8 or 9 pages about Ares and her side of the story and her motives and stuff. I'll read that someday.
Yeah, we'll get there. That'll be great. That'll be a good little.
I'm sorry it's so depressing.
No, I love me a good tragedy.
So do I.
And a lot of other people do too. We're sick individuals.
But a lot of people think that it has to have a happy ending. No, it doesn't. People don't have happy endings in real life.
No.
Not that this is anything like real life, but
no, that absolutely. I think there are a lot of people that do get that. There are a lot of people that are really drawn to tragedy and like appreciate a good tragedy. But then there are the people that are like,
It
no, I
should
need
be
a.
happy.
Why did I read this if it's not gonna have a happy ending? It's a waste of my time. No,
No.
you're a waste of my time.
You're a waste of my time. Don't read my book if you think that way.
Yeah. This was a really fun little snippet of this crazy story that you've been
So this might be
thinking about for so long, because it'll be so cool.
Someday
in
I might
20
write
years
this.
when this book just exists. In
when they're
the
making the
world.
movie.
Yeah. And you're gonna have like interviews. You're gonna be like, well,
Oh, my podcast.
if you're interested in my college podcast, I talked about it then.
Because
Like, that's so crazy and fun to think
realistically,
about.
this story could change a lot. And so
Yeah.
it's nice to like have this documented.
Yes,
because
definitely.
if I
I'm
ever
glad.
were to write this story, and I'm sure it would change a lot, I could go back and be like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
right.
that's what I was gonna do.
Oh, I was gonna
and
kill
that was
Winona.
gonna-
Good thing I didn't.
Yeah. Good thing Flynn just made it so that she doesn't remember him at all anymore, and he just went back to his life and everything's
Yeah,
good.
everything ended.
And then like, he just had. There's this guy named Runin.
no, stop.
We'll get to Runin.
I
one
guess I'll
day,
talk about
too.
Runin someday. Because if I ever were to make this a book,
Runin would not be done.
Runin would not be. No.
No.
If I were to ever do this, I'd like. There's a lot of room for like side stories and stuff, so I
Yeah.
could like do little short stories about this because
Heck yeah.
Flynn has
Of
existed.
just all of his different
for
like,
all of time.
adventures and like.
and it'll be him like
different-
going on different adventures and stuff. And so I have written one of them, some of one of them. It's
I'd read it.
There's a boy named Runin.
Read 'em
It's
all.
about the two of them. It's funny.
I would love to write my own.
Please do.
I would love to write my own time cop that exists in your universe.
You can. I've written another one. His name's Randy.
Oh yeah.
He's obsessed with Flynn. It's really funny. He's like his biggest fan.
All right. Well, we should stop.
I know. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry for everything that's happened.
Don't be.
My
'cause,
story,
like,
how long this has gone on.
There are gonna be people that don't care about this at all, but there are gonna be people that really, really dug this and were interested in it.
I think
and
the two
enjoyed it.
of them are in this room.
No, stop that! If there are two of us, there are bound to be more. And even if there's just one other person in the world that got a kick out of this, aren't you glad you did it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it was worth it. Bye.
And imagine if it just ended there. No, though.
Thank you for bearing with us. This is something
Thank you. This is a
that
long
we've
one.
both had in our lives for a while now, and we think about a lot. And as someone that like has been involved in it, I'm very honored.
You were with
But
me as I was
also-
writing it.
But also, it came from your brain, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you,
and love it,
Bandersnatch.
and it's really affected me a lot.
Well, because I remember I was writing all these notes, and you were like obviously right next to me at your
Yep.
desk while I was doing it, and I was like, "Hey, I think
When
I'm
were
gonna
wells
kill
invented?
Winona." When were wells invented?
Or that, yeah.
I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna kill her, and you were like, "No," and
I was like,
"Yeah."
no.
If she lived, it wouldn't cause that much of an emotional reaction.
No,
okay?
for real. Then it would just be like some lovey-dovey story with a happy.
And I don't want that. The ending
like,
of the
it
story.
would have been Flynn giving up his life as a time cop to live with
Yes.
Winona.
Yep. And him like still crushing the
And
watch, and
he would have always had that like pull to like, wow, there's this other life that I'm not living anymore.
Mhm, yeah.
And Winona would have always had that like,
I can't have kids with this
I could
man.
be having a better life with
Yeah,
someone.
100%.
Even though she wouldn't. Feel
Emotionally,
like that
she doesn't,
because
but-
she loves him so much. But like
Mhm.
that's something that would always just kind of be in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So no, you made all the right decisions.
The ending of this story is my big middle finger to every time travel and romance story that's ever existed. Like, yeah, you want to take your time travel and romance? So that's Flynn. Flynn's my boy. I love him. He's sad.
It's a really sad.
I think I've talked about,
And
we've
now-
like mentioned Flynn in the last couple, like handful of the past podcasts. Now you know who he is.
And just know that Flynn is forever
And
sitting at that
by
grave.
the definition, by the like rules I've created of this story, like in real life, like actual
He's
Flynn is
somewhere.
somewhere right now doing that. For the rest of time, he will be doing that.
So take that with you.
So,
on this fine
Just
day.
do me a favor, and every January 11th, think about him.
Just think.
That's when I wrote this.
Think about the man in the graveyard.
And he's still there.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There's not even like a spark of hope. It's like, that's
No,
it.
no,
We're
that's
done.
It's done. End of
sad.
story. Zero. Okay, well, with that,
I'm really sorry
Thank you
again.
for your
I know.
time.
I messed
stop
up.
apologizing.
I
though.
messed up.
No apologies. It's okay.
I'm not apologizing because I want to change it. I don't want to change it. I'm just sorry you had to live through it.
No, I know that's what you're saying. Don't apologize for it. Okay.
Alright. I'm sorry again.
Take Flynn with you into life.
Think about him, please. Just not for me.
And,
Think about it for him.
yeah.
Because he needs those thoughts.
And, don't go messing with time.
Don't.
Or Flynn. No,
Not
he's
Flynn.
not gonna.
It won't be Flynn. It'll be
Someone's
someone.
gonna come for ya.